Hey, and welcome to my May book recommendations video. I would also like to point out that I just cut my hair yesterday, and I think I like it, but it's weird because it's new. Also, I filmed a couple of videos before I cut my hair that I haven't edited yet, so the next few videos on my channel I'll have my old hair, and then you'll get to see this hair again. So don't get confused when you see some videos with different hair. So look forward to those. They're two really good videos that I filmed. But for now, I'm doing my May book recommendations video. And if you don't know what that is, every month at the end of the month, I make a video talking about the books I read that month because I'm trying to get to 52 books in 1 year, and I'm behind schedule, but shh, we're gonna make up for that this summer. And if you want to watch those other videos I've done in previous months, I will link to it down below so you can go watch a bunch of videos about really good books. I read 3 books this month. I probably should have read more, but in my defense, I've read a lot of fan fiction this month. I've probably read several books worth of fan fiction. So really I've read probably more this month than most months. I just read mostly fan fiction, and this challenge is specifically about reading books, not fanfics. So I only read 3 books. But I will tell you about those 3 books, they were pretty good. So the first book I read this month, and one that I super enjoyed, is called Arrive. Sorry about the terrible lighting here, guys. I'm filming in front of a mirror. I mean, not a mirror, a window. Sorry about the terrible lighting. I'm filming in front of a window. It's called Arrival by Ted Chiang. It used to be called Stories of Your Life and Others, but then they changed it to Arrival because one of the stories in this book is what the movie Arrival is based on. If you've seen the movie Arrival, it's a really good movie. It's about aliens and stuff. And this is a collection of short stories. They're all like literary science fiction, which is really cool. They are absolutely really good, and I like them a lot. The story that the movie's based on is called Story of Your Life, and I actually like the short story even more than the movie, and I really liked the movie, so that's saying something. And yeah, there's like 5 or 6, maybe more than that, maybe like 8 short stories in this book. They're all really cool. They're all science fiction in different ways in the future. Some of them are about aliens, some of them are about hyper-intelligence. They're really cool. I think he's a fantastic writer. The only story in here I didn't love was the last story, and it has to do with, I don't want to give away what the plot is, but it has to do with beauty and the way people perceive beauty, and I think it was trying to make some interesting statements, and it wasn't necessarily a fully bad story, but there were some aspects of how they discussed beauty and ugliness that didn't really sit well with me. The way the story is written, and it's not necessarily a comment on the author, maybe about the characters in the story, but the way beauty is discussed in this story, it's talking about living in a world where people don't see or don't judge beauty and ugliness, but the way the story discusses it makes it sound like beauty and ugliness are non-subjective, completely factual concepts, that a person just factually is beautiful or ugly, and that it has nothing to do with, you know, cultural differences or perception or, you know, sexism and gender, like, perception and conformity and people's tastes. Like, the perception of beauty versus ugliness is based on, like, so many social constructs, and I really don't think it's fair to say a person is ugly or beautiful. Like, it's so much more complicated than that. So I think the story was trying to do something interesting, and that it was talking about, like, the world would be better if we didn't judge people based on appearances. But the way it talked about beauty and ugliness just didn't sit well with me. So I didn't like that story as much, but I liked the other stories in here a ton, and I would totally suggest reading this collection of short stories. And maybe your perspective on the final story in this book would be totally different. Just because it didn't sit well with me doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. And I could totally see some people taking really good stuff out of that story. And all the other stories in here I loved a lot. They're really cool. Science fiction, literary science fiction. Literary in the sense that they are quite, go into the characters' psyches, and they're very complex and interesting, and they explore, like, themes beyond just, like, sci-fi, but they do address cool, like, aspects of science fiction and science and stuff. So yes. I think I gave it 4 out of 5 on Goodreads, mostly because of how I felt about that final story, but in general, I adored this collection. Totally recommend it. And if you haven't seen the movie Arrival, you should also watch that movie because it was really good. So, Arrival by Ted Chiang, first book I read this month. I read it in a couple days, it was super good. Completely changing the type of book, the second book I read was this young middle grade novel called The Classroom at the End of the Hall by Douglas Evans. Can you see that? Yeah. If you watched my video from last month, which is April. If you watch my April book recommendations video, I talked about Wayside School, which was a short middle grade novel that I read when I was a little kid, and then I reread it last month, and it was really nostalgic, and I loved it a lot. And then my roommate, after I told her that I read that book, suggested I read her favorite book from when she was a kid, which was The Classroom at the End of the Hall, and it's kind of similar to Wayside. I liked Wayside a little bit more, just probably out of nostalgia, and I just really liked the humor in it. But this one was cute and funny and interesting too, and if you like middle grade novels and just light reads that'll take you back to your childhood, I would suggest it. It was fun. You can read it in like a couple hours. So The Classroom at the End of the Hall by Douglas Evans, I think I also gave it a 4, because it's not revolutionary, but it's fun. And then the third book I read this month, I'm technically not finished yet. Like, I'm almost done. I'm at page 641 out of like 800 or so. It's American Gods by Neil Gaiman. If you didn't know, they are making or just started releasing a TV show based on this book, and I've heard that the TV show is really good. I haven't watched it, but I've been meaning to read this book for years and years and years because I really like Neil Gaiman, and one of my friends absolutely adores this book and has read like most of Neil Gaiman's books, and she said I had to read it, so I did, and it's really, really, really good. It's sort of about like Greek gods and Egyptian gods and African gods and all kinds of gods in America. And I don't want to say too much. I don't know. I didn't actually know hardly. I knew it was good, but I didn't really know anything about it when I started reading it. And I think that's why I enjoyed it so much, because it was such a surprise. Like, it's such a weird, surreal, unusual story. And not knowing what it is when you go into it, I think improves it and makes it even more interesting, because you are discovering what the heck is going on in this world at the same time as the main character is. So I won't say too much, but if you like anything to do with like mythological gods and Neil Gaiman's particular, interesting, surreal fantasy style of writing that really blends real life and fantasy in a very interesting, believable way, then I would highly recommend it. It's very long, as you can see, but it's super worth the length of it because it's really, really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like I said, I haven't finished it yet, so I haven't rated it on Goodreads, but I'm probably going to rate it 5 out of 5. Unless the ending takes a wild turn and is terrible, which I doubt. It's really, really good, so I would recommend it. And maybe go check out the TV show too, because I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard it's good, and I might watch it after I finish reading this. So, Neil Gaiman, American Gods, good book. So those are the 3 books I read this month. Like I said, Arrival, Classroom at the End of the Hall, and American Gods. Kind of a weird variety of books, but they were all good. Hopefully by next month I'll have read a lot of books and I will be more on track, because right now I think I'm like 6 books behind schedule. If we count American Gods, I'm now at 16 out of 52 for my goal of being at 52 at the end of the year. So hopefully that'll be up quite a bit by the next video. And you should let me know in the comments if you've read any of these 3 books, if you liked them, if you're going to go read them now, let me know. And if you want to be my friend on Goodreads, you can go on my Goodreads account, which will be in the description, and friend me, and I can see what you're reading and you can see what I'm reading, and we can all try to read more books together. You can like this video if you enjoyed it, and you can subscribe, because I make a new one of these book rec videos at the end of each month. And tomorrow I'm releasing the next episode of my fandom podcast called Internet Kids, and that episode is going to be about One Piece. So if you're interested in that, subscribe, and I make other stuff about video games and stuff. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!